Alright, your SimAbility adapter should come with the actual adapter assembly already assembled. We'll call it a donut that mounts to the G27 wheel. You should have the screws to mount the plate to the SRW wheel, some tie wraps, and you've got some hex screws to mount the adapter to the donut, and then 3 extra long screws to mount this to the G27. So first, let's go ahead and disassemble the G27. Okay, to disassemble the G27, we're going to start by taking these Allen or hex heads out of the front of the wheel. Okay, now that we've got the screws out, we want to carefully remove the G27 wheel, and we can remove our lens for our LED lights. And then there's going to be a screw in here holding the circuit board together. Mine's not in at the moment. If you have a second hand to help you hold the wheel out of the way, that would be good. But you want to go ahead and take that screw out of the circuit board. That'll free up the circuit board. And once you do that, carefully lay it over. And then go ahead and pull this plug out. You'll probably need, yours will probably be a little stiffer than mine. And you'll just need a screwdriver or something to help pry that out of there. This plug's also been lengthened. Yours will be just a little bit shorter. Once that's off, you can go ahead and just set the wheel out of the way. And then there's going to be 3 screws inside of the paddle shifter assembly. We're going to go and take those out. Grab a screwdriver, or if you're in a hurry like me, oh yeah, we got to put a Phillips head bit in it. Boom. Okay, with those 3 screws removed, we can now pull our shifter assembly off. We'll just feed our plug back through the hole through the paddle shift assembly. And this we no longer need. So we can go ahead and we can just kind of coil that up inside the wheel. And as I do that, what I'm going to show you is how to assemble the adapter with the SRW cord on the outside of the G27. What the other option that you can do is you can take the case apart on the G27. You can take this cord. What I've had to do in the past is cut the connector off, pull the cord out, seal the wires up so they don't short out, and then run the USB cable for the SRW through the G27 wheel. Problem is that there's a hole, you're probably not going to see it on the video, there's a hole back here that's really small. It's not big enough for this and the SRW cable. You may be able to get both of them in there if you use a smaller USB cable, but if you are capable of rewiring the USB cable, then you probably can figure out how to get them in there. Okay, so for this application, we're going to just put our wire inside the G27. We're going to take our adapter plate, the first piece, and you'll notice that there is a notch on the bottom. The notch on the bottom lines up with the bottom hole, the notch, and that goes on the bottom, and it lines up with the tang on the bottom of the G27. And that should just press fit onto the G27. Once we have that, we're going to take our 3 screws, put each of them in there, and carefully tighten these down. Once we have that on there, our assembly itself, we're going to need to mount the adapter assembly to the SRW wheel. The bottom is where the cord goes. We're going to set that on there, and it's a nice fit, by the way. These recesses fit over these nubs. Once you get it on there, you're not going to need much to hold it on. But before we actually put it on there, what we need to do is take the screws out, the stock screws out of the SRW wheel. So you can take a small Phillips screwdriver, get in there. And these can be a little tricky to get out. You get one out. For these screws, once you get them loose, usually just give them the wheel a little tap, and they'll start to come out, and you'll see they're pretty small, and you can just set these aside. Be careful though when you get these out, not to pull the front plate off. You'll have all the little buttons and stuff will be scattered all over the place. So be careful not to remove the front plate. You just want to remove the screws. Go ahead and use these supplied, these are 2.2 millimeter by 25 millimeter screws. They're stainless steel. These happen to be flathead. Just go ahead and put those in, tighten those down. Careful not to strip it out, tighten them down snugly, but not too tight. Also too, you could put the, I can't remember what the size is, but there's a metric screw inside the SRW. You could add an additional screw in here for additional support. I don't personally think it's necessary, but you can do that. If you're looking for these screws, I got these from the UK. They're hard to find. I do have them on my site, SimAbility, and also too, if you're in Europe, you probably want to try to get them from, I think it's Spalding Fasteners. Okay, so now that we've got the adapter mounted, let's talk about what we're going to do with the cable. Alright, as mentioned before, the USB cable does not fit through the G27 because of that small hole in the back there. So our options are remove the cable, the SRW cable, from inside of the SRW wheel so that you can feed it through the G27, cut the cable, splice it back together inside the G27, or, by the way, if you're going to do that, I did provide a hole in the bottom so you can route the cable through that hole and back into the SRW. The option I'm going to show here is to run the cable outside of the wheel, and for that what we're going to do is we're going to tie wrap the cable around the can, and we're going to leave enough hanging down that it'll be free for the wheel to turn. Okay, on the adapter I've pre-drilled 3 holes for the tie wraps, 2 on the side, 1 on the top, and they are also recessed so that the tie wrap, once it's in there, will clear the donut, the round piece, so you can slide the wheel on afterwards. So let's go ahead and tie wrap our cable. I like to go feed the tie wrap in this direction. That allows the ratchet part of the tie wrap to be on the outside once you get it clamped down. And we'll leave just a little bit of slack there. You could actually start on either side, it doesn't matter. Again, we're going to feed down in through the can and poking the tie wrap out. As we tighten this, we're just going to be sure that the leftover tie wrap piece sticks out away from the can. And when you're done, cut these off. But be aware that they can be sharp. So you want to cut them either really close, if you've got some good cutters, or if not, take a soldering iron or something or a file, and make sure that nobody gets cut on these. And I'll put the third tie wrap in, and then we'll go ahead and put it on the wheel. Okay, now it's time to mount our SRW to the G27 base. Before we do that, we want to be sure that the G27 base is oriented properly. The shaft is oriented. It could be 360 degrees out, that's fine. You just want to be sure that the bottom of the wheel is on the bottom of the shaft. To find the bottom of the shaft, we need to look for the little square notch right here. Not sure if that's getting in the video, but you're going to find a square notch, a hole, a threaded hole, and one of the screws. When all 3 of those line up, then you know you've got the bottom of the wheel. If you pick one of these, you'll see that there's no square notch there. There's a giant rectangular notch. This one does not have a square notch, it's giant rectangular. We want the small square, mostly square notch at the bottom, lined up with that threaded hole and the screw. Once we know that's the bottom, then we're going to take the bottom of our adapter, our SRW, which is going to be the part that has the hole for the wire, and of course when we turn it around, we can see that that is the bottom, and we're just going to slip it on over the adapter, just rock it a little bit. And as we're doing that, we're going to watch for our holes. This particular unit isn't keyed. If your unit is keyed, then you're going to line the key up and it'll be a little bit easier to put on. But we're just going to go ahead and line up our hole. But once you got the holes lined up, go ahead and start your first Allen head or hex head. Carefully run that in there. Now I'm not going to tighten it down all the way. I'm just going to leave it a little bit loose, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it around, and I'll start on the next one. And again, I'm not going to tighten that one down. I'm not going to tighten them until I have all of them in. Then back off here, try that one. Okay, once I have all of them started, I'll go ahead and go around here and just cinch them down. You don't want to get them too tight, you don't want to strip them out. Just tighten them down a little bit. Okay. Alright, as far as the cord, one thing you got to remember with the G27 is that it will spin around and back around when you first turn it on. So you're going to need leave some slack in the cord. So let me go ahead and plug it in first. I've got plenty of slack. Let me plug it in. Okay, so there we go. The G27 is on. It is centered. So now I'm going to go ahead and unplug it. I'm going to turn it off. And I know I need to leave enough cable wrapped. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the left. And then I know I need that much cable. So then I can clamp the cable into the desk or tie wrap it, whatever I want to do. But when I unwind the wheel, I need to be sure that I've got that much cable hanging down. That way when I turn it back on, then my cable is going to be okay. Alright, and that's it. I mean, you should be ready to go.